Under level 10, we really are delicate. A stray dog or a well organized group of bloatflies could quickly set us back by hours at a time. Armor is, of course, available, as well as low level power armor, but there's nothing like having a good friend to watch your back. Heading northwest along the road outside Satellite Station Olivia, we see a large sign up ahead, but we realize we're passing a vertibird on our right. Walking up, we see a wooden crate on the ground, and notice some more cargo scattered around in the area. Now, I ran into 3 Radstag does who would not attack, but they were really mad at us for intruding, so just to make sure that we don't become the hunted, we can clear them out. And after we take care of that, we see that the wreckage is relatively intact and notice a leveled suit of power armor just in front, with what looks like the previous occupant lying just there. Now this character is low level, so we have some T45 pieces here, but we did get 4 of the 6 possible, so that's awesome early on. But since I'm low on fusion cores, we can leave for now, making a mental note. However, crawling into the cockpit here, we see the other occupant, and just by glancing up on this seat here, I spotted something. We find a brown flight helmet. Now this is a normal flight helmet with 2 damage resistance and 5 energy resistance. It's just this one will always be brown. Do make sure to check the ammo box before leaving. With that, we jump back on the road, continuing north. Just past the GNN billboard, we spot a small building. And as we get closer, we discover the robotics disposal ground. As we enter through the gate, we see many cars and only one building. But before we check it out, if we turn around, on the back side of these tires, we find a mini nuke lodged here. After giving it a little bump, it pops right out for us to grab. A really interesting find for a junkyard, but okay, let's continue. Before we go inside, let's see what else is out here. So, going around the edge, we really don't see much, until right in the middle of the back, we see a sentry bot behind a couple of barricades. Walking up, we don't cause any alarm, nor do we get a name to show, but to the right we open a trunk to find a fusion core. Awesome, but that's not it. If we jump on the cars right here behind, we can grab a fat man just sitting there. Well, we have gotten a fat man and a mini nuke from here now, which is exceedingly interesting. I really hope we don't have to use them for any reason. Getting a good view, we see that the fenced-in area isn't very large, and we have explored most of it, leaving nothing but some flamer fuel left. So with the grounds explored, we can finally check out the building. And for some reason in my game, the door and windows were a bit bugged with visual issues. Luckily, they aren't game breaking, so I'll just live with it for now. I tried to reload it, it wasn't changing anything, so we'll just live with it. We enter a single small room, and going around it, we start with a first aid kit on the wall next to the door, and a couple of empty shelves just next to it, with a weapons workbench on the other side. And in this corner we find a skeleton atop a red toolbox, as well as a stim pack on the bottom shelf, and a copy of Hot Rodder magazine on the top shelf, which grants us the flame paint job for all suits of power armor. Sweet. And with just a terminal left, we can go ahead and open it up. Robotics Disposal East 09B. U.S. Robotics Disposal. Safety disposing of your robotic waste since 2053. We see 3 entries here: delivery log, employee notes, and playing the tape. So starting with the employee log, we actually see that they're ordered newest to oldest, going top to bottom. So we'll start at the bottom. So they received 12 Protectrons missing all limbs in November of the previous year. They received 27 Mr. Handys won't stop talking, 9 Protectrons missing all limbs, 14 iBots, vision sensors missing, weird iBots, okay. 8 RoboBrains, IQ well below 80, well, I think we might know where those come from. 4 decommissioned sentry bots, interesting. 15 protectrons missing all limbs. Even more protectrons missing all limbs. Really weird. And then, of course, one prototype sentry bot, unknown issues. I think it's safe to say that that's the one that we saw outside, being the oddball. Back in the main menu, we can choose employee notes. In here, we see several notes written by either a Mike or a Dylan across several months. Since these are chronologically the opposite, we'll start at the top, to be the oldest. Weird, more of those protectrons with no arms or legs. How do you even miss that in production? Do they have robots building these robots or something? That's a scary thought. Indeed it is. Next up we have Mike. Robots making robots is, yikes, we got these iBots in the other day that were actually missing their eyes. Isn't that ironic? Anyway, yeah, missing something like that, they must have had a lot of their own bots on staff or something. Weird. Next up we have Mike. They just dropped some sentry bots off. It doesn't look like there was anything wrong with them. Why would they just throw away these like this? I'm thinking about taking one of these things home and setting it up to mow my lawn for me. What do you think? It would be useful, I'd say. Especially decommissioned. Weird. More of those protectrons missing everything. I heard from a couple of the other sites that they keep getting them too. Someone made a big mistake. Weird it's cheaper to dump them here instead of send them back, attach some arms to them. That is weird that they don't just fix them like that. Interesting. Some weird guys dressed in all black just dropped off a sentry bot of some kind. They wouldn't say who they were. The thing looks like it's fully functional. They even had it drive itself into the yard and shut down. I looked in the trunk they threw next to it and it had a holotape in there. I'm thinking about seeing what's on it, but those guys in black had me pretty freaked out. There was another one from Dylan, and this last one is Mike responding. I was joking about taking one of those sentries home. Don't look at the holotape. If those guys dumped it all here, they had a good reason, and you probably don't want to get mixed up in it. We have an easy job here. Come in a couple times a week, walk the perimeter, and go home. Don't let your curiosity screw that up. Backing out of the employee notes, we can see at the bottom the holotape inserted is a Combat Sentry Prototype Mark IV holotape. I'm assuming it's the one that was in the trunk since we didn't find any holotape in the trunk. But activating it here, we get a new screen. USAF Remote Sentry Prototype Mark IV, commissioned by Redacted and built by Redacted. This prototype sentry must only be operated by official personnel of Redacted or of the associated client. Now, that first Redacted might be for the U.S. Air Force since it says it right there at the top, but I'm not sure why would they do one and not the other. But we have Activate Sentry Bot or Information. Clicking on Information, we can get a little more. This holotape should accompany a Combat Sentry Prototype Mark IV. Redacted is not responsible for any property damage, personal injury, or loss of life sustained while using this prototype. If you're not a member of Redacted or an associate of the prototype owner, Redacted, you must destroy this holotape immediately and deny any existence of it and the accompanying prototype. Okay. Well, with our very formal warning out of the way, we can click Activate Sentry Bot. This operation will boot the Combat Sentry Prototype Mark IV and all of its presently loaded systems. Warning, this Combat Sentry is a prototype. It is highly recommended that all tests are performed in a closed environment under Combat Protocol Systems Initiative Code 3392F6. The current user is at fault for any training incidents that occur. Continue with boot up sequence. And of course we can continue. Backing out. He's alive! And killing more rats. There he is, up and running around just fine. About 6 mole rats jumped out as we activated our new friend here. As you would expect, he had no problem dealing with them. He now will roam the robotics disposal grounds, keeping it safe from any and all hostiles, which at this point in my game makes it one of, if not the safest place for me to be. Now, he isn't just the groundskeeper. He can actually come with us around the wasteland for short expeditions. By heading back inside and reloading the holotape either into the terminal, or we can actually use our Pip-Boy, we can see some more options. Opening the holotape up, we see we now have 4 options. Deactivate SentryBot, engage defensive protocol, initiate self-destruct, or information. Now the information is the same that we saw before, so it's not worth reading again. And for some reason the deactivation button did not work. It kept saying data corrupted down at the bottom there. But if we click on engage defensive protocol, we get even more options. And in case you're wondering, self-destruct is self-destruct. Clicking on the defense protocol, it says detecting nearby US military compounds that currently require assistance. Engage defensive protocol on which military compound, and we're given 4 options. USAF Olivia, South Boston Checkpoint, the Revere Satellite Station Array, or defend Fort Hagen. All of them do say defend, but it's more of an escort mission there, and then they turn around and come back. Choosing Satellite Station Olivia because it's just down the road, we can give it a test drive. With that, he heads out of the compound and down the street towards the satellite station. And just on this short walk, we can notice some issues already. For one, the overheating happens pretty constantly and gets pretty annoying, but this is prevalent in all sentry bots. The larger issue is the mapping is incredibly unpredictable. He follows the roads, but he gets stuck on any manner of large debris, such as cars or trees. And the roads themselves can be very cracked and damaged, causing further issues. The mapping will occasionally get lost, so he'll backtrack for quite a ways and then sprint back down the road as if it was just a fun game of tag. As I mentioned earlier, if you do manage to get him all the way to the destination, he will simply say a voice line and then return to the grounds. So yeah, overall I think we've noticed quite a few different bugs. Another thing to keep in mind is we can only send him to each of the 4 locations once before returning, so he can make 4 trips total, so be wise how you use them. With the Mark IV SentryBot activated and at least somewhat understood, we're left to wonder about the 2 men dressed in black who dropped off the SentryBot. Did they work for the military, or did someone get their hands on a robot they shouldn't have? Perhaps some soldiers were using him for their own off-the-books purposes and needed to very quietly dispose of any remaining evidence. Whatever the case, we're left to speculate without more info. And with that, we end our exploration of the robotics disposal ground. We don't find a lot of stuff here, but we do find items of extreme value if used correctly. Let me know in the comments below if this was as buggy for you as it was for me. I post Fallout content every week, so if you like what you see, please leave a like and subscribe for more. Above all, I want to thank you all for being here with me today. Until next time.